my channel. So today we are not going to do anything in reference to looking at a specific sport or any specific highlights in reference to a person in that sport. We are going to look at someone that we have definitely seen before and that has absolutely rose to the top in his career. And the person that we're going to take a look at is Khabib Nurmagomedov, but we're going to take a look at a video that gives me a little bit more detail or information about him. So it's going to be a video about Khabib and just some more little fun facts because I just like to see the fighter in action or athlete in whichever sport they're in, and then from there I like to kind of do another video, and which I'm going to do on just about everyone that I can possibly do it on, is go ahead and jump into another video that gives me fun facts about them. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do right here, right now with Khabib. And of course, you guys probably know some of this stuff, and some things you guys have been giving me fun facts on, even in the comments. So everyone that's been doing that has been a part of me learning and my journey. Thank you very much for that. But let's jump into this video and see what they may have to tell us or may teach me that I can learn from that you guys haven't already taught me. So as I'm trying to gather my words, let's go ahead and watch this video. All right, here we go.
With just a couple of weeks separating us and UFC 229 now, the headlines have certainly been dominated by Conor McGregor. That's to be expected considering the amount of fame that surrounds him at the moment, but what about Khabib? Hardcore fans have certainly gotten to know him well over the last 6 years since he debuted in the UFC in 2012, but many new fans are being introduced to him for perhaps the first time. That's in part because this is only the second time he's ever headlined a card. The fiasco of UFC 223 when he won the lightweight title earlier this year was his first time. With him being from Dagestan, a republic inside of Russia, a world away and with plenty of language barriers, there's quite a bit fans still don't know about him. So
just that little clip right there. I know, and after I first watched Khabib, in the comments when you guys, actually a few of you guys, let me not say one, a few of you guys pointed out that I should watch this video where it shows him wrestling a bear. So this is clips from that video. Little Khabib wrestling a bear. It's straight, fair, straight, crazy, straight, just ruthless. It's so cool.
I'm going to discuss today. I'm Jason from MMA On Point, and these are 10 interesting facts about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Number 10, an extreme upbringing. Just being Russian is enough to invoke images of a rougher, all-around, more difficult lifestyle and an extremely harsh climate. But Khabib's background is another animal altogether. Much of Dagestan is buried deep in the Caucasus Mountains with high elevation and extremely cold temperatures. But the biggest factor of why it's so harsh is the history of the region. It was embroiled in wars with Russia throughout much of its history, and the country has been torn apart with terrorist groups invading the region since the 90s, with poverty plaguing many of its inhabitants. As a result, youth programs and gyms have been established all throughout the republic to keep kids off the streets and away from trouble. As an accomplished martial artist, freestyle wrestler, judo and sambo champion, and serviceman in the Ukrainian army, Khabib's dad, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, and his uncles established their own training facilities to keep Khabib and 15 other boys alongside his brother, relatives, and friends away from the world outside. It was ran like a...
Wait a minute. Okay, so much just happened within that minute and 51 seconds of the video. First, they start talking about, you know, where he's from and the temperature and climate being very intense out there and all the snow. You see the guy throw the bucket of snow. I wouldn't last out there, that's for sure, because where I stay at, first off, I am always freezing. And this is nowhere near a cold state, yet I am always freezing. So I wouldn't last not one bit there at all. I'd probably be sitting here just stiff with all these different layers of clothes on. But I'm pretty sure eventually people get used to it. But anyway, on to the more factual and important thing that I really took from this, that I really like, you know, in the time where there's a lot of things going on and a lot of turmoil and just situations, his dad, and more than just his dad, they opened up gyms for young men to go ahead and, you know, be immersed in, so that they aren't having to deal with all the things that are going on. And I like that his dad did that for not only just his sons and he did that for more than just his sons, other individuals, other men, other young boys growing up, so that he can keep them on the right path. And I absolutely love that. That is amazing.
4-7 gym and army training camp rolled into one. And some of those training methods that they used have become infamous, namely Khabib wrestling a bear as a young child. Yeah, that really happened. He began formally training by age 6, and by the age of 17, he was fully involved in the Russian martial art of combat sambo, full contact, and began his mixed martial arts career at the age of 19.
And we all know his ground game of wrestling is superb.
Occurred in just 1 month. Number 9, why does he wear that wig? Well, first off, it's actually not a wig. It's a traditional garb of the Dagestani culture where men faced the elements during battle and wore the head ornaments for warmth. It's made of thick wool and exists in different forms throughout the region, as well as in Greater Russia.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back. But I can admit that I for sure am guilty of when I first ever seen him, I was like, what is that on his head? I didn't know. You know, we're all from all kinds of different parts of the world. I had no clue, but eventually I did learn that, especially from some comments down in the video as well. You guys helped me understand exactly what that was, why he had it. So thank you guys for that. But this video goes to explain a little bit more in depth, like it was something of, you know, ancestry or of later or earlier in time. So that's pretty cool.
As a result of its connection to various armies in the Caucasus regions, and had also been associated with manhood and a man's overall identity in the past. Alongside this, men would also wear an open coat, also made of wool, called a burqa, that was also worn and would be easily thrown off in battle to quickly attack. In Khabib's case, it was offered up as a joke by one of his friends as a way to call back to their heritage, since it's not commonly worn in current times. And Khabib and his father liked the concept and decided to wear it from then on. Now it's one of the few trademark clothing gimmicks in an era of
definitely what he's known for.
Number 8, his son was born on the day he fought. On the same day of one of Khabib's most seminal performances to date, when he fought Edson Barboza at UFC 219 on December 30th, 2017, his son Mabruk was born at 2 a.m. very early that morning. He actually discussed what the process was like on the MMA Hour just before he fought at UFC 223.
I found out after a couple hours when I stayed like 2 a.m.
Did you feel bad? Did you feel sad that you missed it?
Why I need to be there?
I don't know, support your wife, be there, hold her hand, I don't know.
We have different mentality. I can ask for God, help her, and that's it.
There's really not much to say about this one.
I get that. Like he said, we have different minds. Like we think different. I feel like if I ask for God to watch over her, be with her, through God, she'll be fine. We'll be fine. I like that. Amazing. Everyone has their different view or different reasons why they do what they do, and I like how he kind of shined a different light on it. It doesn't have to be a negative thing that I wasn't there. I was still there. God was there for me. I love that.
Crazy that he had a kid on the day of his fight, and perhaps even crazier was his reaction. And you can imagine his son will have a similar upbringing to his own.
The sport, of course, he gonna wrestling.
Number 7, one of the most popular athletes in Russia. If you're a fight fan, you know Fedor is by far the most popular Russian fighter and is seen as the big...
Now, if this is your first time on my channel or anything like that, or just one of your first videos, or I know I have a lot of videos, so with that being said, I do definitely know who Fedor is. And Fedor is on my page. There is a video on him. You guys make sure you guys check that out. He's an amazing, amazing fighter for sure.
Legend of the sport, but Khabib is a massive star there as well. You can watch footage of him being greeted with mobs of Russians in any part of the country when he arrives, and one of the biggest indications of his stardom is that he just passed Maria Sharapova as the most popular Russian athlete on Instagram. He also has this quote from UFC 205 just to show you how big his homeland is.
Right at the start.
Irish only 6 million, Russian 150 million.
So if you're someone new looking into this fight and wondering who he is, it should be noted how many people he has behind him back home. And not only there, but there's an estimated 1.6 million Russian Americans in the New York tri-state area, with many that see him as a superstar as well. Number 6, he's extremely accomplished outside of the cage. In addition to being the current UFC lightweight champion in the sport of MMA, he's got plenty of accolades on his mantle elsewhere. He holds the most accomplishments in Sambo with 2 gold medals and 1 silver under the World Sambo Combat Federation, won the Combat Sambo of the Federation of Russian Championships with a gold medal in 2009, and the All-Russian Sambo Federation Championships as well. He's won 2 no-gi grappling tournaments with the North American Grappling Association in 2012, won the Army Hand-to-Hand Combat European Championship, and is a European penetration champion to top things off. Beyond this, he has extensive training in judo as a black belt, boxing with Olympic trainers, and of course freestyle wrestling since he was a young child. As if that's not all enough, he also grew up playing soccer and basketball alongside regular swimming and gymnastics training.
Hush up. Wait a minute. What doesn't he do? You're basketball and football, soccer. You're not only that, you've gotten all these different awards and accomplishments when it comes to jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all that. Like, my goodness. When do you sit down? Like, of course, hard work pays off, which is why he currently is, of course, you know, very ranked high. He won the fight with Conor. Look at what he... Jeez. Keep going, guy.
Extremely active lifestyle, pretty much tracing back from the day he was born. His dad, Abdul Manap, tells the story of how he began involving himself in wrestling by wandering onto the mats at the early age of just 2, unprovoked, and started mimicking the exercises he witnessed there in the gym. Oh, and just as a bonus, here are his thoughts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
If Samba was easy, it would be called Jiu-Jitsu.
Number 5, he's only fought 2 top 5 opponents in the UFC.
I said Jiu-Jitsu.
While very few out there would doubt that Khabib deserves to be the current lightweight champion, it is interesting to note that the only top 5 opponents he's fought so far have been Edson Barbosa and RDA before he won the title a few years back. Otherwise, it's been Michael Johnson, who is ranked number 6 when they fought in 2016, and most recently Al Iaquinta, who was actually at number 11 just before UFC 223. Of the current top 15, he's only faced 2 of them. It's just interesting to note in comparison with many of his peers in the top 5. Most of them have fought just about everyone else in the top 10 in the past or in the current rankings. But of course, this is nothing in comparison to Conor McGregor, where he only faced Nate Diaz before fighting for the title, but that was even at 170, not 155, so he basically went straight to the belt. Kevin Lee also went up from Michael Chiesa to Tony Ferguson for the interim belt. So these aberrations do sometimes exist,
so he's not
and
the
while
only
some
one.
have made a big deal of it, the quality of Khabib's wins certainly justify his place at the top of the division. Let's just hope that Tony Ferguson fight somehow still happens down the line. Number 4, he's never lost a round in UFC competition. So it's well known and marketed that Khabib is undefeated, boasting 26 wins and 0 losses. An impressive
27-0 now.
Even more impressive is the fact that he's never lost a single round. In the UFC, he's had 10 fights with 4 finishes and 6 decisions. Of those decisions, he earned either a unanimous decision by winning each round with a 10-9 score, or greater, basically meaning they scored him winning every single round. Going back to before the UFC, he was on a streak of 8 wins by finish and only had 4 decisions in his career back then, all also by unanimous decision. But there is one controversy in...
Talk about, like, not only just being that guy with a squeaky clean record, your record is all the way clean. Like, you not only win your matches, you win each round unanimously, like crazy. Not completely, but regardless, he wins every round, making him have the record, which now stands at 27-0. But we did watch that fight, and we know, of course, that was a little back and forth here and there. So I'm sure that whole squeaky clean round for round wins changed there. But we do know that regardless, after watching that fight, for sure, I know I watched it, he's 27-0 now.
Bunch, and that's our next entry. Number 3, his takedowns were shut down in the past. In his fight with Gleison Tibau, Khabib was not able to score a single takedown in 3 rounds, and it's not like he wasn't constantly trying. He just wasn't able to get them. This fight went to a decision, and despite this,
he definitely, when it comes to takedown in wrestling, he's very gifted. So for someone to be able to, like, stop it, that's pretty good.
A score of 30-27 on each of the judges' official scorecards. What's controversial about this is that both Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg thought he lost the fight and were shocked by the decision.
The corner of Nurmagomedov is getting urgent. If he loses this fight, which we both think he probably will lose by decision, it's a learning experience for this young man. Khabib, the Eagle!
Oh, wow. Yeah, the commentators were really already deciding.
And honestly, I see where they're coming from. At the very least, it should have been a split decision with something closer to a 29-28 score in the final scorecards. And Khabib himself was actually taken down in the fight and was outlanded according to fight metric by significant strikes and total strikes overall. The argument for Khabib is based on the fact that he was pushing forward most of the fight and initiated grappling exchanges against the cage very often. Although he usually wasn't attacking in those positions and they were broken up for inactivity most of the time. Either way, there are a ton of people that have seen that fight.
Controversial, maybe.
And it's pretty old by now since that was back in 2012, and he's got 6 years of wins separating himself from that fight in 2018. Number 2, he almost retired. If you look closely at his record, you'll notice he didn't fight between April 2014 and April 2016. Reason being is that he went through several injuries that included 2 canceled fights with Donald Cerrone due to a reoccurring knee injury, and in the first of 4 failed bookings against Tony Ferguson, Khabib pulled out due to a rib injury ahead of their fight. This was all very hard on him, and he expressed the desire to actually retire from the sport altogether, but his father convinced him to stay and pursue the title.
I remember a couple years ago, you were talking about retirement. Do you remember after the injuries? And he was the one who told you can't retire yet, right?
Yes, father say, how you wanna be retired if you have some problems and you wanna give up? Give up is easy way. A lot of your friends, teammates, me, everybody waiting for your title fight, and now you wanna retire? What is this?
It's just crazy to look back.
Thank goodness for his dad, right? Because look at where he's at now. But with that being said, that's a fact. Don't quit. Don't quit. Quitting is the easy way out. I love the fact that he had someone in his corners that pushed him through that. I love that.
This moment in time and think he could have retired and closed the book on his career after fighting RDA before the whole mess with Conor McGregor could have even unfolded. Surely we owe his father a debt of gratitude, unless you just really don't like Khabib. In that case, you can... Number 1, how he got the title. To call UFC 223 a debacle is a huge understatement. Not only were several fights scrapped from the card due to McGregor's antics, there were 5 different opponents weighed in front of Khabib during fight week. Tony Ferguson's freak injury tripping over a cable during pre-fight media obligations. Max Holloway, the 145-pound champion, being told
Max Holloway. See? Okay, look, you guys. When I did my, and I have a video on Max Holloway, of course. When I did my video on Max Holloway, I also asked, I've seen them come, face-to-face before in a previous video that I did on Khabib, and I just didn't see any highlights. So, this is, of course, Max Holloway. We all know who Max Holloway is. If you don't, this is who he is. He fought recently. He fought Ortega, and of course, he is the winner of that fight. I had Ortega, but I did go ahead and watch, and it was one heck of a fight. And Max Holloway, well-deserved champ of the fight, and that just is what it is. But I have a video on him on my page. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out.
Athletic Commission that he needed to stop cutting weight to 155 because they deemed him medically unfit based on whatever they witnessed that his team did in backstage. Then it was thought to be...
They're explaining it too. So you guys in the comments explained it to me as to they didn't fight, but they're explaining why they didn't fight.
Max Holloway, the 145-pound champion, being told by the Athletic Commission that he needed to stop cutting weight to 155 because they deemed him medically unfit based on whatever they witnessed that his team did backstage. Then it was thought to be Anthony Pettis, who ended up declining the fight.
Imagine those two fighting, Holloway and Khabib.
And then Paul Felder was rejected by the Athletic Commission based on his ranking. So finally, it was Al Iaquinta that stepped up. One hell of a roller coaster. But what's also interesting is that Khabib won the title while there were still 2 champions present. Tony Ferguson was still the interim champion, and Conor McGregor was still the undisputed champion. It was stipulated by Dana White that when the first punch was thrown, that Conor would be stripped of his title, and by extension, interim champ Ferguson, because he was injured as well. This is the first time in UFC history that anyone has won a title in this manner. Champions have certainly been stripped of the title in the past, but not during the fight, and definitely not 2 of them at the same time. Since then, this has happened again, or maybe hasn't happened. At least it was supposed to with Colby Covington when Tyron Woodley fought Darren Till. The rankings on UFC.com still show him as interim champ, though. So surprise, surprise, it sounds like Dana White didn't go through with that one. But either way, before UFC 223, it was a completely new concept to strip strip a champion in this
That's very
way,
interesting.
much less two as a fight started. So those are my interesting facts. For a lot of the big Khabib fans, much of this will be known to them, but I hope a few of you at least picked up a few new facts here. Was there anything important that I missed in your opinion? And then also,
was that like a commercial? He gets up and
facts.
walks
For a
into
lot of the big Khabib fans, much of this will be known to them, but I hope a few of you at least picked up a few new facts here. Was there anything important that I missed in your opinion? And then also, I want to get your picks for Khabib versus Conor. We're going to be doing a little
We already know who wins that, and what is Conor doing?
more coverage as the weeks go on, and it'd be interesting to see if that changes for any of you over the next couple weeks. Thanks for watching.
Being Conor, apparently. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Khabib, and watching this video, like I said, when I kind of paused a few times and throughout the video, just the fact that he has, you can tell like him, especially from knowing exactly what occurred when it, you know, the whole fight thing went down, and after the fight with McGregor, and just seeing how much passion exuded outside of that fight in representation of his family, that Khabib and his family are like this. Like, they are very united. They are very, you know, family first. They are very all about that type of life. And you see it here. The father, you know, made sure that he, you know, used his wings as a blanket to keep kids, and not only kids, period, but his own, you know, away going on. So he's very passionate about what he does too, to make sure that he, you know, passes it down to Khabib. And then he kept Khabib in the industry. He did not let him quit when he wanted to quit. When things got a little tough and rough, he did what any father should do, is push you past your, you know, mental limit, so to speak, to achieve something to make yourself even greater. I do love that very much, to have learned that as well. There's so much that I learned from this video. There's so many other people that I've seen in this video that from watching a lot of things about different fighters, and you guys in the comments are able to identify, people I'm able to identify, just a lot of things. So I feel like such a cool person, being able to know, you know, who certain people are, like Fedor and Max Holloway. You know, just knowing who a couple of these people are was for sure fun to be able to point out. So I hope you guys liked the video. Make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Check down in the description for my Twitter and my Instagram for you guys to follow me on there, you guys. Make sure you hit the bell when you guys subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys next time.